Well, welcome back to The Catalyst. See what I did there, Carlos? It was just for old time's sake. Welcome back to the Life-Giving Leader Podcast. Tyler Reagan here with my longtime buddy, Carlos Whittaker. And we're actually kicking off kind of a little section of this season where I want to talk specifically about friendship and connection and understanding how to have a long-term relationship, and guys are bad at this. And, I think, Carlos, you and I for the last few years have been chasing the rabbit of how do we do this well? Because we're tired of seeing our friends in isolation. Our older generation having no close friends, like whatever that looks like. So I'm going to paint a little picture, and then I want to introduce how our kind of relationship came around. For years, I think I've always fought to be a good friend. I think it's something that, whether it's hosting trips to Montana or just being intentional with text here and there, and like, hey, I do. A lot of my friends say that I pursue them more than they pursue me, which is something I want hanging on a wall, when I die. So my friends said I pursued them more than they pursued me. There's times I'm like, hey guys, you can step it up a little bit and pursue me. It's fine. But most of the time I really am okay with that. I'm okay with that being a reputational thing. But, 4 or 5 years ago, I guess 5 years ago now, we started the 1010 Project trying to diagnose what are we seeing in pastors and leaders who are isolated. And that's the word that just continues to rise up in our generations is isolation. Like people are acting the fool because they have nothing around them that's protecting them or putting them in a safe space. So I just kind of wanted to do this conversation with multiple of my friends and acquaintances to hear what are some best practices for connection. What are some things you're learning? And I want to talk about our relationship a little bit. And because it's not always been a perfect relationship. We've kind of had some mostly ups, but a few downs in the middle of that. And we had to work through some of those things. And honestly, I think it's those working through those things, Carlos, it's probably gotten us closer than we've ever been.
Absolutely.
In that way. So anyway, for the people that don't know you, give us a little bit of your story, just brief bio, but then maybe interject where we connected in the story.
Yeah. I am now currently, as I sit, I write books and I talk about them. And I talk to my phone a lot, and that's kind of the world I sit in, but that isn't the world where we connected. That's kind of where I've ended up. I spent the majority of my adult life in ministry, whether it was on staff at a church, Sandals Church in Southern California, or Buckhead Church, part of North Point Ministries. A big chunk of my life was spent doing that. And then, I began to lead. I was leading worship, and I would, kind of lead worship around the country. And then I signed a record deal and I moved to Nashville. And so I was definitely in that kind of evangelical, Christian subculture where that's kind of what paid my bills and the whole thing. And then as of maybe the last 4 or 5 years, I've definitely moved more into, the marketplace, corporate America, just speaking on, I think the width of what I talk about now is something that really applies to any human being, whether or not you look at the world through my worldview or not. And so, I've been talking a lot and making book content and, podcasts and videos and all the things. But, you and I mean, there's really not a lot of people that have been kind of alongside me in my adult life as long as you have, professionally speaking. Like I was leading worship in a gymnasium in a church plant in Southern California when we met,
That's
for
right.
the first time. And there could not be, not you nor I could be farther from what we were doing then, now. And so, I don't think you're 50 yet. Maybe you're almost there.
This summer. This summer's
okay,
the
this
big
summer,
one.
yeah.
You're
So
getting
you're
an
getting
invite.
there.
Stand by.
I just got there. And so it's like, here we are, in our early 50s, you in your late 40s. And it's like, okay, I love this conversation because I have found that, there's not a lot of you in my life. There's not a lot of people that have been around that long. And I think it's because you're right. People don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But also I think, man, I think it's just people don't know how to do it, but then people that do want it don't even necessarily know how to nurture it. And so I think there's two things there. And I think that, we have kind of slowly tried to figure it out, and I think it's working. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never forget when we sat at Marlowe's. This was in our Catalyst days, and I had just written A Life-Giving Leader, and the advanced reader copies came out, and you got one of them. And I remember saying to you, "Hey, whenever you read it, let me know what you think." And like, you didn't even let me finish the sentence. You're like, "No, I read it." And I was like,
yeah,
"Why?" Like, it almost still throws me off. And I remember it really meant the world to me that you didn't just get that, but that you read it, and you had taken it serious. Like, hey, this is my friend. This matters to him. And so therefore, like, that was a moment where I was like, God, this is an important friendship in my world. And, and we'll get to that in a minute, but like, we had a little season where we weren't close. And one of my biggest regrets in our friendship is I kind of pulled away for a season after the Buckhead stuff, because I don't know why my feelings have been hurt or whatever those things were. And I know you had gone through some pretty significant stuff. And I think my regret is that I didn't go through it with you. Instead, I let my own feelings, my own frustration or whatever it might have been, remove me from the relationship versus leaning into the relationship. And then, we had a really important lunch, maybe a year, maybe less than that, after I'd come over to Catalyst full time and you were on retainer. It was just, I needed a moment to say, I'm sorry. I needed a moment to ask your forgiveness. And the biggest piece for me in that was I realized I wasn't your advocate, and that sucks. Like, I realized I didn't want to be, in a sense. My feelings were hurt for whatever reason. And I remember that lunch as clear as day, and you crying, going, I'm sorry. And also, here's what was going on. And like, it was just a moment for us to go, no, this friendship matters than a hurt feeling, than a thing, than whatever happened in those. And I just hated that I hadn't walked with you during that season. I didn't know all those things. Does that make sense? Do you remember that lunch at all?
No, dude. Oh no, I remember that lunch. And unfortunately, that are things that you and I in different relationships are going to have to keep going through, right? Like I've learned that, and I've seen that. So it wasn't just like a learning season in that for me. It was like, like I've had people move away again because in relationship for me, because they were uncomfortable with, or maybe they were hurt, or I have moved away because I've had my feelings hurt. And then, we're human, and I think that what we realized in that is that relationship and friendship, true friendship, is never self-serving. Like it is never about what we're getting. And it's always hard because it's like, no, like if I'm going to be a friend in the good seasons, then that means I got to be one in the crappy seasons, as uncomfortable as it makes me. And yeah, man, I think we both grew from that, but I also, I do look back at that and I think that's why you are, I could probably, if I've got 10 digits on both hands, I'm like, I'll tell Heather.
That's 20. I'm like, now you're just abnormal.
Oh, sorry. Right here.
10 total?
10 total, okay. 10 total, right? Like if this is, I honestly, I look at my hands sometimes and I think this is really probably by the time I kick it, whether God blesses me for 90 something years or whether it's another two, like I probably am only going to have this many like close relationships that are proven. I think
that's a key word.
That stand the test of time. And I'm just grateful. And so when you find those, you freaking hang on to them,
And so I thought you were about to say, and you're not one of those, but I appreciate you're on 12, 15, somewhere in that category, but
you're close. Keep moving up, bro.
Well, and that's, like, we're going to talk about golf in a minute, but like, as soon as like you even showed a hint of golf desire, it's like the depth of my soul was being cared for, and I was like, yes, finally. Like, and you and I've had fly fishing, we've had plenty of other categories, but golf is that thing that's like, it is a deep fun thing in my world. But so let me ask you this then, what do you think has worked for us to stay friends this long? I mean, we're coming up on 20 something years of friendship. And what's, if you could put your finger, one of those random digits of yours, on a thing that keeps it close, or friendship. And again, we don't live in the same city anymore. We don't run again. We don't hang all the time, but we communicate a pretty decent bit. What do you think that is? or even with
think,
your other friends? Doesn't just have to be us,
yeah,
but like, what
yeah,
do you
no,
think
no.
one of those key things is?
Well, I think two jump to the top of mind really quickly. And the first is intentionality. Like you can't accidentally stay friends with somebody. That you can accidentally know somebody. You know, like I've got people that follow me on social media that will introduce me to someone that they know that I've never met before. I've never met these people, but if I see them in an airport, they're like, "Hey, this is my friend Carlos," and I'm like, "Wait a second, like." You actually don't know me. You know, like 0.02% of who I am, but like we throw the word friend around so much that I think that it's lost a lot of its impact. And so the intentionality is the first thing. So, you know, I'm in Orlando. If I forget to call you, you'll see that I'm there when you were living there. It's like, hey, bro, you're in Orlando. I live here too. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Oh yeah, I was pissed.
Let's hang out. So boom, I end up on your back porch. You know, or whatever it is. It could be a trip. It could be, you know, being intentional about, you know, you reached out to me like, hey, I'm starting something. I don't know if it's going to work. 1010 project. You know, like I would you even consider being one of our first kind of mentors on this thing? Send me a book. Like you send me a book. I'm going to be intentional about. I need to let everyone know. If you send me a book, I'm not going to read it. Okay. The 10 people on my fingers, if they send me a book,
I'll read theirs.
I'm going to read theirs. And so it's like, that's intention. So I think that's the first thing.
True.
And then I think the second thing I would say is vulnerability. Like there has to be a level of trust that, you know, now, I mean, I feel like even in the last few months, I've shared some stuff with you that I'm like, you know, I've been going through this and this is hard and man, this has been restored and this is new. And like it just to know that I've got like safe spaces to unload all of that, because everybody is going through something hard. And you've got to be vulnerable. You can't hide. And so, yeah, I think intentionality and vulnerability are the two things that I think probably, if I look at the 10 friends that I have that I think of as my close friends, they have those two things.
They do. And it's, I know for me too, it's like, I think even thinking back to kind of those moments where you mentioned this earlier, you can't be self-centered in friendship. It just doesn't work. You're not going to have a lot of friends if you do that. And even when I was walking through my own thing, I realized it had become my thing, not your thing. And that was unfair to you. And that's really how that spiritual understanding of how we become entrapped to stuff, we become ensnared to bitterness or frustration. When we don't deal with our own stuff, it spills onto other people, no matter if they were right, wrong, or indifferent. We have to be willing to be honest and go, hey, that was not my favorite. Like that's where I think that vulnerability too is a key component of that. And honestly, there's this is going to sound very shallow. Forgive me for that, but there's something about good friends in the way they make you feel, right? Like it's just like when I get a text from you or I see a little DM pop up, whatever the communication style may be. When we got to play golf together a few months back, it was just like the spirit lifted.
Yes.
Like I just was like, like this is one of those people in my life that makes me feel great. Like it makes me feel myself. I get to be grounded in this. I don't have to put anything on. I'm not trying to sell anything. I am not trying to find a new client out of like I'm not in work mode. Like it's like it pulls that off. But I think some of that, Carlos, is just such a longevity piece of that. Like you know, it just one of the things, you know, we just moved back to Atlanta about a little less than a year ago. Just driving around these same areas does that, where it's like, my shoulders go down. But that's like a good friend, you know, a good friend just lets the shoulders down, just lets you be yourself. You don't feel like you have to say specifically protected things. Like you can just be yourself. And that, I would say that's one of the reasons I've enjoyed our friendship for so long, is that when we're together, there's just like it just feels better. Like it's better than when we're not together. Do you know what I mean?
Agree. Yep. Agree. That's so good. That's really good.
So let me ask you this, based on your wiring, if you were to look at your own story, what are you? You're an Enneagram something, and then you're whatever, like,
I'm a 9.
Okay.
Ish.
Based on just your wiring in general, I'm not either. That's why I went, I don't know, whatever. We'll just throw it out for those people that still care about it. What's made based on your wiring, what makes connection in general difficult and what makes it easy? Is there, the way you're wired, how does that play into those things? And I'll start while you think about it. Like for me, I'm an extrovert. I'm highly extroverted. So connecting, my bigger challenge is depth of connection. I'm actually
Yeah.
really good at connecting with a lot of people easily. That's kind of natural for me. What's harder for me is to take time to go deeper with some of
Mm,
those things. So
yeah.
that's always been a challenge in friendship for me. But I guess I value friendship so much that I'll fight through that. But
Sure.
in the sense, like connecting isn't the hard part for me. It's deeper connection. What about you?
Yeah.
What do you think when it comes to connection?
Yeah, I think that I am naturally well, first of all, I think I'm naturally like more of an introvert.
Yep.
So, I enjoy being alone. I enjoy just thinking by myself. And so
Uh-huh.
with that, I also think I have a natural wiring to just be selfish. And so I think both of those things make me a really bad friend. Like I think that, I would agree with you. It's like it needs to go on your wall. Tyler pursued me more than I pursued him. Because I think you're wired for that. And I think there's some of us, maybe some people that are even listening, that aren't wired for that.
Yeah.
And that it's not natural to kind of go out. And so for me, like it's taken a lot of work, even in the last 2 years, I say very specifically with many intensives I've done and a lot of therapy that I've done to where Heather looked at me the other day and she's like, I feel like you're finally becoming a good friend. And she was talking about me and somebody else. She's like, did you just do that? Like, I can't remember
Right.
what it was I did, but
Right.
like I thought about somebody, and they weren't thinking about me. And then I did
Yep.
something for them that
Yep.
maybe in 5 weeks they'll find out about. She just was like, who are you? And so it's
Do that in
taken
our
work.
marriage, Carlos.
Yeah. It's taken work for me
It
to
is.
to get to that. And so I think that some people naturally do lean
Mhm.
toward being a good friend, and I feel like some people are bent that way. I'm not. And so I've had to do a lot of work and I have made the decision. Literally, dude, if I had my journal, it's upstairs. Like your name is in the back of it, like as somebody that I said, no, like there's going to be pursual and there's
Mhm.
going to be uplifting and there's going to be encouragement. And like this is somebody I want to go the distance with. And so I've had to be purposeful in it.
Yep.
And so yeah. So for me, I don't bend that way. I've had to, but I also don't use that as an excuse.
Yeah,
I've
that's the
literally had
trick.
to put myself, it's like you think of, I don't bend that way. And then we think of ourselves as like iron and we're never going to bend that way. No, you know what you got to do? You got to stick that iron over the freaking forge and you've got to get it hot enough to do the work to bend. And so you can bend that way. You're just
Yep.
going to have to get there. And so
Yep.
don't make that an excuse if you're just like, oh, I'm just not a good friend. So
Yeah. When I went maybe 18 months ago, they had a big like flourishing at work conference at Harvard because that's kind of the places I run in,
yeah,
Um,
of course.
And but there were like 5 main categories of human flourishing,
Yeah.
and a huge piece of that is just friendship, like
Yeah.
like connection.
Yeah.
And this all has stirred up for me over the years of seminary, over the years of knowing older men, specifically men who have no close friends, like
Yep.
none. They've gotten to that season of life where they look back and they go,
Yep.
for what? Like,
Right.
and I just remember even in my 20s when I was in seminary seeing these professors who I was like, I bet they couldn't name 1 to
Yep.
2 close friends. And I thought, I can never do that. Like, this is
Yeah.
too important. This is, too long term. Like I think of a Ryan Shove who who
Yeah.
he was a 22-year-old like video at work for me on my team.
Yep.
He has been with me. He pursues me. I can tell when there's something going on based on the communication
Yeah.
response, lack of response, those things. But I think anybody listening to this who goes, yeah, I don't know that I have a lot of close friends. You need to get it like that.
Yeah.
But maybe it is a wiring thing and you're fighting against something that's unnatural, but you got to make it more natural. Like this is
Yep.
critical to long-term flourishing.
It really is.
And I just think we're living in a day and age where we have so many things that are telling us, don't worry about it. You feel connected. Like you just said, I feel connected to you because I know you online or I watched your
Right.
videos. Wow. But that's not real.
What a horrible thing that social media has done.
That's
is
not real.
Fooled us into thinking that that's true connection.
Yeah. And I do like it for seeing what's going on. And I feel quote unquote connected, but that's not deep interpersonal connection. And I think that's really critical. But I think for so many of us, when it thinks about, there's a fear in deep connection. It goes back to one of your 2 points is authenticity is hard. It's
Yeah.
fear. Like, why do you think we're fearful of this? Why would you be fearful of this in your own story?
Because you fear that anything you have built, any relationship you have built, because of the shame that you feel, maybe with poor choices or whatever it may be. I'm not talking about, they don't even have to be gigantic life altering poor choices. Just,
Sure.
oh, I'm just not really a good person. You fear that you will be judged, and you fear that you will be rejected, and you fear that you will be shamed. And nobody wants those things,
Yeah.
And so I think that that's why, at least for me, that's why I just never was real with people, because I didn't want them to be disappointed in the reality of who I am. And once I was real, and once the reality of who I am was fully known by my friends, and once they did not leave but pursued me farther, I'm just telling you that's the ticket. That's where most people, they're just scared to be really seen.
Yeah.
But man, once you are, I tell Heather all the time, for even in my marriage with her, once I became a man of no secrets, once there was like none, I'm like, I've never been able to breathe like this in my marriage. I've never, like it just, it's the same thing with your relationships with your close friends. Like once you're fully known, there's just nothing better. And I don't think you're fully going to understand what a true friend is until you allow them all the way in.
Agreed. And this has become even part of your writing and social media and content is, you've researched a ton. You've done your own personal research around connection and disconnection. And what are you seeing? Give me one or two things in all of that work you've done that you're seeing as maybe a massive wall or obstacle to people truly connecting to other friends or other humans.
Yeah. I think that, we have been, I wonder if I have the book behind me. We've been fooled into believing that, here it is. Hang on. We've been fooled into believing that connection is digital. And I'm telling you, as much as it can help us feel connected, unless you're breathing the same air as another person, you've got to have air breathing community and friends with you. And there's this book that I read called The Lonely Century. It is mind blowing how to restore human connection in a world that's pulling us apart. And I mean, it's a pretty like kind of heady book. But by now it's probably 6 or 7 years old. But it was so good for me. And that was one of the books I used to research for my last book called Reconnected, right? So the book's called Reconnected instead of Disconnected. People thought, because again, real quickly, I spent 7 weeks. I didn't look at a screen. I lived with monks and Amish, and the first thing people told me is, how was it when you disconnected? And initially I was like, oh, I get it. Like, yeah. But then I was like, but it didn't feel like I disconnected. What did it feel like? It feel like I reconnected.
That's great.
With what? With who God's created me to be. So, so I became really, I'm telling you, like, I'm like Willis, the Amish sheep farmer, and Father Carlos, one of the monks at Valyermo, are 2 of the 10 that are on my digits. Legitimately, because I spent these weeks without screens, intentionally having deep, meaningful dinners and breakfasts and lunch and long buggy rides and farming the land. There was an acceleration of those relationships that aren't in my regular life because I don't live that way. And so that's what I've learned is, like, I think for friendship to truly get to where we want it to go, if you go analog with the friendship, it is going to explode in a great way. And so that's some of the stuff that I've been learning.
Last summer, I think, talking about 50, our friend Elliot turned 50. And a buddy of ours had this old connection to a guy who's a barbecue master. Like, he's won pit master stuff. He's over in there's part of Georgia. And so we all paid for a day to learn how to cook all the different things that he knows how to cook. But that was, I mean, it made me sick. I ate so much food that day. We started 8 a.m. and we're done at 6 p.m. We ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
It's amazing.
We cooked. We did all these things. But here's what moved me the most. He had lived in this house a long time. He'd lived in that place. He had built this kind of screened-in porch with an outdoor kitchen. And literally, yes, we cooked and yes, we learned things, but we just sat around. We talked.
Yeah.
Like he's been doing that for 30 years of
That's
it's a lost art, man. That's what people used to do on the weekends. They didn't have 16 things on the schedule that day. They would meet up at their family's house and just hang out. And I remember thinking, wow, this is lost. Like we don't do any, like even if we were to cook out, let's say you were coming over, it would be for a 2-hour window.
Right.
I grill up the thing. I work on it before you get here. We eat together. If you stay for a while, great. But like we all have stuff going on. And I just thought, man, the art of just the day together is
that's
pretty
good, man.
crazy. It was really fun to watch. But so I want to, with our time, I want to take one more turn. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I know you lost your dad last year.
Yeah.
And that relationship, probably like any parent-son relationship, father-son relationship, has a bunch of twists and turns in it. Talk about, were you always close? I know you were close for sure at the end. I know you moved your parents across the street. What did you do intentionally to keep a lasting relationship upwards with your dad?
Yeah, no, that's great. We were close. I felt very loved and seen by my father my whole life. But there was a sense of, there's this like kind of, and I would say that any children of immigrants that are listening to your podcast right now are going to understand what I'm talking about. There was this maybe like extra version or part of our relationship that, I was always kind of maybe trying to like strive to like, I wanted to make sure that he was proud because he moved here with $20 cash and a shoe shine kit when he was 18. And there was kind of like all of this stuff. And I feel like for a lot of my adult life, I don't feel like I'm maybe measured up to what I wanted to measure up for him. I think he would definitely say that I did. And so like, I feel like there was a pursuit from me to have him feel proud. And I feel like that's one thing. But then towards the later part of his life, there wasn't a pursuit for him to feel proud of me. There was a pursuit for him to feel seen by me. And I feel like that's, and that just may come with age. I know I really saw it when I lived with the Amish, the way that they valued and honored the generation that is about to go, from building homes on their property, and they're at every meal and all of these things. And I just feel like maybe we've lost a little bit of that in America. So I was able to, by the grace of God, buy the house across the street from me, move my mom and dad into it as my dad accelerated his dementia began to accelerate. And bro, just going over there and seeing the joy on his face when he would see me. And now, even though he's passed away, it's the same thing with my mom. Like if I just walk in for 5 minutes, she's the happiest she's been, like it's like, it's so cool. So yeah, I think it turned into, it definitely turned into me wanting him to feel seen, because this is another thing. And I talk about this in my next book that's coming out later this year, how, the blueprint for friendship, it was just not, it's what I love. It's what I love what you're talking about right now, because it just wasn't, working. And my dad, I watched him get lonely. I watched him retire. I watched him leave the Southern Baptist Convention and all the speaking opportunities and all the things that he was doing. And then suddenly he just felt lonely. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so like I stepped in as a friend for him.
Right.
But again, I think it's because maybe he was handed a blueprint that wasn't working. So
yeah. I'm a little bit, my oldest, you're a season ahead with the age of the kids, but we're about to have our first one go to college. Yeah. And even at Christmas, we were in church and he was 2 seats over from me. And I had that thought of like, oh, wait, this is the last real Christmas of like, he's like he's Christmas will be here, but he's not here anymore.
Totally.
And I just wept, man. I couldn't stop. It makes me tear up now thinking about it, because I'm like, this is generational relationship. And really both my boys, and I know you are with your kids, like it's like, how do we take what we just learned about what you experienced with your dad, and how are you turning that the other direction to the generation behind you? What are some of those things that you're going, based on what I just watched and experienced and him getting lonely and those kind of things, what am I doing to keep the relationship and the connection with my kids maybe even differently? And now you have a son-in-law, about to have 2, right? Like that's a different relationship. Of what,
Yeah.
what does that
Yeah.
look like for you?
I think there's two ways I think about it, especially now that I've got son-in-laws and then another one on the way. Um, I think with my kids, they've in the last 2 years, I have allowed them deeper into my healing and who
Mhm.
I actually am than they ever have been had access before. And so now they actually see, there was a moment where I had to decide I can continue to pretend and just be the provider, I'm the dad who just, is more of a superhuman than human for them, or instead of them wondering, and
Right.
when they go to therapy now, because I'm going to send them to therapy. When they go to therapy now, they can be like, "Well, this is how my
We've
dad
all
is
set
jacked
you,
because
that's for darn
yeah,
sure.
exactly. Because he told me this, and I've seen him work through this, and
Yeah.
I've seen him work hard to heal these parts of his life. I think that is really important. As far as continuing to establish that relationship with your kids. But even with my son-in-laws, like I pursued them
Yeah.
and I pursued what their love, their desires. Like Brady and I have fly fishing. Like that's our thing together, and so like we'll talk about that. We'll go on trips together, and it's like, what is something I can do? And this even goes with my kids that keeps me connected. Now, my other future son-in-law coming, we like yesterday we spent 2 hours under my Toyota Tundra installing a rear lift kit on it, and we both love to work on cars, and so that's something we do. And then also golf is like a new thing with him.
Right.
But like now when I go out with my little foursome here in Nashville, he's there with me, and he
Yeah.
hates me because he's been playing for like 4 years and I whip him every single time. And so, but
Still some
like,
work to do.
yeah, how am I pursuing? How are we pursuing them? And I do feel like simple things like my kids saying, "Wow, dad bought the house across the street, moved his mom and
Mhm.
dad into them."
Mhm.
They might not say anything, but they're going to remember I did that. And
Yeah.
hopefully when the time comes, they're going to step up as well.
It is interesting thing about that transition to where they call us the squeeze generation right now, where
Yeah,
we're
sandwich.
sandwiched, and
Yeah.
it's like we're dealing with. That's part of why we moved back to Atlanta, to try to care for our aging parents, and the wrestling of they don't want to move, or they like all the tension that comes
Yeah,
with that is really hard, because
bro, so
I
much.
don't want the relationship to suffer at the end,
Right.
because, and like Carrie and I talk about this all the time, like, man, we want to the best of our ability, hand what we need to our kids in a really good place. Like,
Yeah.
here's what hey, do this. This is what we've planned. This is how we're
Yeah.
going to do that, so that when we can't make those calls, it's a little easier on you as the kids, and whatever that looks like. But, I'm with you. I think there's something lost these days. Maybe, I don't want to blame everything on digital world, but
Sure.
it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But there's something lost in the generational
Yeah.
connection, and being a family unit for a long period of time. Like I'm starting to get to that point of excitement about college, obviously, but then that really close to that is that probably long-term relationship that our
Yeah.
boys will have, and like, wow, that's just, it's fun
Just
and
around the corner.
fearful
Yep.
and all the stuff that comes with it. So, all right,
Yep.
two last things as we wrap up, because I know we got to get to these. But what projects are you working on? You just mentioned a new one that's coming out next year. What are you
Yeah.
working on with that?
Yeah. So that one is it literally came from my father's death, and kind of looking at this season that you said that we're in. It's like this sandwich generation, and so I'll tease this for your listeners. The book is called Burn the Blueprint, and it's really about how I realized, wow, like this blueprint that we've been handed. So many people have followed a blueprint their whole life, and they're super successful. We have very successful friends, and they'll look at us and they're miserable. And they're like, well, but I followed the blueprint. Like why am I not fulfilled? And so really helping people I thought it was going to be a midlife book, but looking at my kids, they're struggling with the exact same things. Oh, Dad, we followed this blueprint, and well, I don't have 400,000 followers now, so I guess my life's over. I'm like, oh my
Right.
gosh, the blueprint that they're being handed is even
Yeah.
different than the one that we were handed.
Totally.
So I'm excited about that, helping people burn the blueprint, but build a compass, and navigating through life with that. And so I've got that coming. I'm doing, what I'm really excited about these days is like my speaking in just the first quarter of this year, just kind of like in the last 3 weeks, my speakers bureau is like, hey, we can't book you enough right now, because they're booking me as like, I'm getting booked for companies that have AI fatigue, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So like there's all these organizations that are like, they've been AI the last few years, and they're efficient and they're moving fast. But suddenly I think they're looking around going like, okay, wait a second. We may have AI'd the human right out of our organization. And so I'm kind of coming in as like how to stay human in an ever-increasing artificial workplace.
I love that.
And so, so doing a lot of that. And I'm pumped about that. And dude, who knows what else? I may make a movie this year. I don't know. You know, I'm always throwing stuff at the wall.
Yeah. Is it going to be a golf movie? Because it should be.
I sure hope so, because I will not be using this Kirkland ball.
Oh,
that you, I don't know if I can get it to focus here.
There it goes.
I got given like a whole pallet of these like little, yellow balls, because I lose my balls. And they literally are just tree magnets. So they just go flying into
but
the
they're
trees.
good. Those Kirklands.
Dude, listen. And then I also got for Christmas, I got my new Rise Up head covers.
Nice.
So,
man, we should have spent most of our time on the Falcons current scenario. I think I'm excited.
I know. Let's go. I'm
excited.
I got hope.
We got a lot going that way, but okay. And then, well, first of all, that sounds like an awesome project, and I look forward to how that plays out, because it's exactly right. Like if you and I, when we were sitting in Nashville, we met for the very first time, would have said, "Oh, in 25 years, Carlos, you're going to be doing this, and I'm going to be doing this," we both would have been.
Yep.
There is zero chance that our brains could have comprehended what we're doing now and the journey we've been on. Same with me, where most of my time is in the marketplace with these agencies and these sales organizations, and coaching them about being people. Like literally, people are our greatest power. They are the greatest thing we have. They are the greatest asset we have, and we just treat them like an asset and a number, and it doesn't work. And that's why AI is doing that, and those sorts of things it's causing so much unhealthy organizational realities that we find ourselves, because we're good at building people and relationships. It's amazing how we found ourselves doing the things we're doing. So it's pretty crazy. But this is not an artificial transition. Like legitimately, golf for me since college specifically has been one of the greatest connecting tools that I've ever had. And like people are like, I ain't got time for 4 hours. And I would go, I do, because it does two things for me. It relieves stress, and I do it outside with friends. Like I have made so many random acquaintances, but half of my current clients came through golf. People that like, I've had my boys playing golf since they were 6 and 9. And I told them, I said, there's two main reasons. One is, you have to take your hat off when you go in the clubhouse, or you need to shake hands with people. Like there's a character building that comes with it. But two is, this is a business skill. I promise you, if you're on a trip, you experienced this before you started playing, and somebody be like, hey, we got a tee time, you want to play? And if your response is, well, I haven't touched the clubs in a year or two, they're like, cool, we'll find somebody else.
No, totally.
Because you need to know what you're doing, even if you're not good. So there's three things. This is what I'm going to say. There's three things. You and I've talked about it. Fun, fast, and good. You only got to be 2 out of 3. If you're not good, but you're fun and fast, you will always get invited back. Tell me why golf has just kind of, and again, you tend to go after things for a season, you know, but you seem to really like, this one seems to have bitten you pretty hard. Why?
I feel like, well, first that probably I had a little natural just kind of ability for it. Like you know, like I think with pickleball, any kind of hand-eye kind of thing for me. But it was so much harder than I thought. I think that for me, like I love a challenge, and I love, you know, to I'm a curious, insatiably curious guy. And so I think initially it's fun. Like it was just, I never gave it the time of day. Like I didn't start playing until I was 50. And so I've been playing for 6 months, literally 6 months yesterday.
97, 95, still the best score?
No, I haven't broken 95 yet. Like I'm still on my way. It's coming. But I definitely love the fact that it gets me outside. There's nothing else on my brain besides like just that. Like I'm not worried about the things I was worried about before I started. And then 100% it's the relationships. Half the time I'm playing with people I know. And then the other half the time I got the little kind of Metro Muni Nashville membership. And so I for $5 I can walk 9 and on any of the courses here. And I have, like 2 weeks ago, I played with this 80 and 75-year-old Korean couple, and ended up at their Korean church that Sunday because they invited me. And I'm like, that happened on the golf course. And then we're playing again tomorrow, and so I'm just like, I just love it, dude. Like we're talking about friendships. We're talking about relationships. What can you do, to hang out with your friends for 4 hours? Well, golf is the perfect thing. So
it is.
I love it, dude.
I've got, this is our 27th year of a buddy's golf trip. Guys I grew up with, guys I've known since first grade, who I actually wasn't, after high school, we weren't really that connected until we started this. And for the last 27 years, we text, the group text constantly about sports and everything else, and they're mostly completely inappropriate. But when we see each other in the summer every year, it's just like, you don't want to miss it because it just creates that kind of thing. So, hey, thanks for taking the time. I genuinely mean this. Like I'm just thankful to the Lord for you and Heather and the friendship that he's given us. I will always be there when you need it. I will drive wherever I need to be. I need to be on a plane, whatever that looks like. That I will do that for you.
I do.
And your family. And I'm just overwhelmed by God's graciousness in that. But I do think the conversation, hopefully for people, can realize like it doesn't just happen. Like it requires intentional investment in friendship. And I'm just thankful that that you've done that in my life and that we've been able to kind of stay the course on that. So blessings as you keep doing your fun stuff. And dude. I know at Los Whit on Instagram, still the best spot for people to pay attention.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Until I disappear again.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Thanks for being a part.